Drake.
What's going on, brother?
Yeah.
We got good energy tonight, man. What's happening?
Oh yeah, we're pumped. We're ready.
Pumped. We got an amazing guest on the show tonight. We're happy to have him here, and lots of great things going on in the world. The world's starting to open back up in some sections here, so hopefully we can keep that moving forward
Yes.
and get some damn rock shows back on the stage.
Yeah.
Because
So I hear there's a rumor that you got some bands you got us coming out there with. I can't say who. I guess only you can.
I
We'll see
can't
what
say
happens.
who, but I can tell you who we're trying for right now.
Okay.
And they've got me a little hot-blooded.
They do.
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit. Yes. So we'll be working forward on that one and putting that show together with, of course, JRGW and rocking the West Texas corridor as we do. But we got a lot of great stuff coming up. Hey, real quick, let's give a shout out to our one and only, our dear Veronica. She's going through some difficult times right now, and just know that our hearts and prayers are with you, and we're here if you need anything, as always. Right? Robbie's trying to...
You want to talk about the spot? We could say hello to a few people.
We can say hi to people. We got Dale Preston. Hi, boys. We got some good news this week, Robbie.
Blair.
As you know, Dale is my dad, and he was battling with some cancer issues for the last few months.
Yep.
And got his results back yesterday. He is free and clear.
My prayers worked.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. So we're very excited here at the homestead that has worked out. And
all right, great. That is
good things all around. Blair Abernathy, what's going on, my brother? How you doing tonight? Or my sister, I should say. Ron, what are you doing?
Ron,
so,
yeah. Cool.
We got a lot of guys tuning in. They're starting to come on. And big shout out to Backbeat Music for being such a fantastic company and standing behind us all this time. And, of course, with Media Jaw. Media Jaw has been awesome and putting the things together in our website. Our website is going through an overhaul and going to be changed up quite a bit. And we're excited about that. And then next week, Robbie, is the week.
Is it is next week the week?
Next week is the week we will be launching on Twitch, finally, after all this time.
Ram channel, Rock Against MS, Nancy Sales, it's her channel.
Yeah, absolutely. Great channel and a great cause. So support us over there. You'll still be on here for a little bit, but we'll be making the move over.
So we'll transition so you can still come here, but the idea is to get everybody over there where we are not being clamped down on.
Yes, and having our algorithms shut down unless we pay for them. And the thing is in the beginning we had massive numbers, and then we started paying for some things, and Facebook said, oh, well, if you're willing to pay, we'll just shut down your algorithm and your reach so that you have to pay for it.
Paying to get the word out, and then they shut down. Yeah, that's lame.
Yeah, so
30 plus 40,000 views.
Couple weeks, they can kiss our ass. Who cares? So anyway,
say that next week once we're on there.
All right, so we've got a master percussionist slapping the skins. No,
yeah,
that didn't sound right.
Slapping the skins. Slapping the skins is a little, that's a little Matt Drake-ish, but that's okay. It's all right.
It's a Drake-ism. It's Rob Mount is who it is, brother. Check that out. What's up, brother?
What's happening? It was one of the more interesting introductions I've had with the slapping part. That's cool.
He's trying to do the Aldridge thing, isn't it? Aldridge uses his hands. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
See, I knew where I was going with this, and that's one of your people that you looked up to growing up. So I'm right in line, Rob. Right in line.
Absolutely.
So Rob, welcome to the Hangout, my brother. We are blessed to have you here. We're very thankful to have you here and taking the time out of your busy schedule to hang out with us here at the Hangout Live. And we're looking forward to getting started. So have you watched any of our shows, Rob?
I've watched a couple, yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. So you know the routine. We try to take it all the way back to, that slapping the skins
and then
coming
out. On pots and pans, whatever it is, man.
Beating on pots and pans and letting the people know exactly who you are. So
Rochester, New York, in the early days.
Rochester.
Where is Rochester?
Interesting. So 6th grade, I got to let you guys in on it now. 6th grade, I go to picture day, and I think I'm just the stud, man. I got my hair feathered, looking real GQ, John Travolta-esque. and I've got a shirt on that says, "Where the fuck is Rochester, New York?"
That's awesome.
I know Mom's listening somewhere in there. We'll see Brenda Preston pop up here in a minute, and she remembers that picture. In fact, we still have it, and I still get my ass chewed for it. So thanks for bringing that back. All right, brother. So you were born and raised out there, and let's talk about the home life. Mom and dad, musicians, were they artists? Were they supportive?
Yes. Nobody was a musician in my family, zero. So where I get any sort of musical talent is beyond me. But my parents, their biggest talent, my mom actually listened to the radio. That was her musical talent. My dad, I don't think ever owned, other than an Anne Murray record he liked. He didn't own any music, so I don't know where it came
from. Wow.
All right, so you're a one-off. Is that?
I guess.
Is that a one-off? All right. There we go.
Yeah, but they were very supportive. They paid for my lessons ever since I was 6 years old, and I studied all the way up through college, and they were very supportive. And when I started growing the hair long and getting the earrings, and maybe that freaked them out a little bit, but they were cool. So,
any brothers and sisters?
I got a brother and I have a sister, but I am the oldest of all of us.
And they don't play, or do they play at all?
Well, my brother played a little piano, a little guitar, but he never stuck with it, so it wasn't really his thing. He kind of dabbled in it, but no, that was it. Okay. Just me.
All right. So you made friends with the household pots and pans, right?
Yeah, to the detriment of, the owner of the kitchen, also known as my mom. Used to bang on those, and used to bang on the garbage cans. And, before I had a proper drum set, I think they bought me some, the cheap Sears one with the paper drum heads, and I broke through those really quick. And so I had this really thick Disney book that I would put on a metal chair, and I would hit the metal chair as my hi-hat, but I would hit the book as the snare. And I still had the cymbal from that cheap, crappy set that I hung off my dresser drawer with a coat hanger. So that was my, first makeshift drum set. So
nice.
It was all downhill from there.
All downhill from there. So let's talk about the fact that you would play along with Sesame Street.
I know, right? Maybe I shouldn't be admitting that now. Is that proper these days? I don't know.
Yeah, who knows, right?
Yeah,
I mean, he's that young. I get it. The Osmond thing, I was kind of like, huh, the Osmonds? That's interesting. I'm a little bit country.
Right? My mom used to watch Donnie Marie and all that shit, but she had a few Osmond records. And so Jay Osmond, I guess you could say, was my first drum hero in a way, before Kiss corrupted me. But yeah, the Osmonds. Yeah. So I don't know,
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
Bill Powers just said Colorado sucks. Come on, bro. Don't be like that. Come on now. Denver's awesome. So let's get into it. Formal career started at the age of 7. How does that happen?
Well, I started taking lessons right around that age, 6 or 7. My first drum lesson was at Duke Spinner's music school here in Rochester, and it was with an older guy with a real heavy German accent. And so he really kind of freaked me out, because I got, the lesson was in the basement, and I went down in there, and, he was like, well, first we will play the snare drum, and then we will play the bass drum. And then I was like, whoa, he kind of, I don't know, it just kind of freaked me out. So I told my parents, I was like, I'm scared of this dude. I'm done. So that ended that really quick for a minute or two.
Learn how to count to 1.
I know. I have to count.
Right?
So
very click, tick, tack, tack, tack.
I know, right? You would play the rudiments. But but after that, they got me in with the next teacher I had was Vinny Ruggiero, who was Chuck Mangione's drummer. And most people know Chuck Mangione. He's, well, maybe not, famous jazz musician from Rochester. So his drummer, Vinny, was my teacher for many years. And then I studied through school. I was in all the high school orchestras, grammar school, high school, percussion ensembles. I went to the Eastman School of Music through high school. Studied percussion, snare drum, music theory, all that stuff, and orchestra and all that. And in the meantime, when I was about 14, I started getting into, garage bands like we all do. And, started playing with, guys around town. And and then all the way up, at least through college, I went for music education. Although I realized after a while I didn't want to do that. I didn't have the patience, to be a music teacher. I wanted to rock with Ozzy or somebody, So
right.
Teaching tuba really wasn't my bag. So that was that. But so I studied formally from 6, 7 years old all the way up through at least a year of college. So I had many years under my belt. So
nice. Did you get to play the timpani in high school?
I played timpani, marimba, glockenspiel. I had the wood blocks that you would clap together, during the Christmas songs where, you do the sleigh bells and the big loud clap. And I used to do it as loud as I could to piss off, whatever sister, Margaret Mary, or whoever our music teacher was at the Catholic high school I went to. So,
right.
Yep.
Absolutely. Blair Abernathy wants to know what kind of kit you use now. What's the brand?
Yamaha. I've actually, my main set is a Yamaha Recording Custom. I've had that since high school, actually. It's still my main set. I got it because Tommy Aldridge had the exact same set. So I said to my parents, I want that, that's what I want, buy it for me. And they did. So that today still is my main set. And it's one of the most, widely recorded drum sets in the history of music. And my mess was success. So there you go.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Dale Preston says that he kissed his first girl to Donny Osmond songs.
Well, I don't remember that, but I don't know. That was I was probably about 4 or 5. So that was the only girl I was kissing back then was probably my mom still. So that kind of sounds
yeah. Yeah. It was from then too, I'm not gonna lie to you. Do you think people ever become too old to learn how to play the drums? Because you do teaching now too.
Yeah, no, I mean it's funny because when I did, I was a camp counselor at Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp a little while back, and you got all these people that show up and want to play with the stars and stuff, and you've got all sorts of, you got beginners and you've got people that actually can really play. Oh, we got the cool light show going when I do this.
Yes, we did.
Starting blue. So I mean, people in their 50s and 60s that are, just kind of beginning at that point too, so there's no age, there's no saying what age you gotta start at.
See, I played growing up, but I've taken probably 2 decades off. I've got a kit at my radio station, so I might have to be talking so we can do a little
Absolutely, sure.
I need to learn. I tried to do guitar lessons with Robby, but he was like, here, check this out, dude, play this.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay.
It's a little bit of an exaggeration, just a little bit.
Oh, sorry, it's this.
Well, I teach young kids, and even my buddy Rob Hammersmith from Skid Row's dialed me up a few times for some drum fun too, so whatever, whatever age, doesn't matter. So
nice. Love me some Skid Row, brother. Absolutely.
Yep.
All right. So entirely self-taught. No formal lessons growing up besides high school
the
bands
drums
and stuff like that. Yes.
Well, I'm playing drum set, playing rock. That's basically me, learning by ear as far as formality, learning rudiments and all that kind of snare drummy stuff and percussion stuff. Yeah, I went to school for, 15, 20 years, whatever it was for that. But as far as what, playing in a band and all that, that's me learning from the records, dropping the needle like we always used to do because we didn't have YouTube, so.
Right.
Right.
Which to me is important because I think a lot of that's lost today. A lot of times you can just go on YouTube, some guy shows you what you're doing and you're done, which is good. But I think the art of learning by ear is kind of lost to some extent because we had to do that. Robby probably is around the same age as me. You had to sit there and try and figure it out using your own brain and then try and, you know what I mean? A little bit of a lost art, I think.
The record player over and over and over. And then it turned to cassettes, and I used to work the cassette like it was a guitar and wear them out. Then it turned to CDs, and then I hated doing the YouTube thing. And now I'm like, oh, actually YouTube, I've gotten used to it. You just put the arrow where you want it and rewind. So it's like, okay.
I used to go down in the basement and put on the Rolling Stones with, the Mickey's Big Mouth. You remember Mickey's Big Mouth, right? I'm not the only one here that remembers those oldies. And I'd sit down there and I'd drink those and I'd play, Jumping Jack Flash over and over and over and over. to this day, I can't listen to the Stones without tasting Mickey's Big Mouth. You know what I mean? Robby, be good, boy.
No, I won't say anything. I'm gonna go in there.
All right. Yeah. So Dave wants to know major influences growing up as a child in drums and music entirely.
Okay, well, in drums, my first, well, other than Jay Osmond, of course, Kiss was like the first band that I really got into as far as rock, because, Peter Criss was, to me, God. They were on the Paul Lynde Halloween special in '76, and that was like, holy shit, some people that are a little older than us, it was the Beatles on Ed Sullivan, Oh, there's the Late Show again. Cool. With my generation, it was Kiss. So Peter Criss would be the first one. Then after that, I got into, John Bonham, Neil Peart, and then Tommy Aldridge. The same people everybody got into, Stuart Copeland from The Police. And then after that, there's a million guys, but those would be the early ones. When I was in my teens, I actually picked up the guitar too. And I played guitar and took lessons for many years as well. So I was really into Randy Rhoads, is probably my favorite guitar player. And Rick Emmett from Triumph, you don't hear his name thrown around a lot, but phenomenal guitar player. So there's a short list anyways. So
yeah.
Wow.
Rock and Roll Machine. You remember that one, right?
Which one?
Rock and Roll Machine.
Oh yeah. Oh sure.
Rock and Roll Machine. Yeah, I used to play that.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
He was awesome. Anymore, right? You don't hear about that. Since you mentioned it, I'm thinking, wow, I haven't thought about them in a long time.
They got a documentary coming out that's due out sometime soon too, so I can't wait for that. So
cool.
Really?
Yeah. Yep.
Awesome. So 1990, we're up to the 90s, brother.
Okay.
Wow.
We're flying through your timeline here. You recorded and played with Baby Grand.
Yep. That was kind of a Bon Jovi styled band that, the big hair, back in the day. I just unplugged myself. How about that? I go to move my hair and I unplug myself. So we did a bunch of demos and recordings that were actually really good. Would have, if we had the right break, would have fit right in with everything at the time. There's a few of those songs on my website that you can go listen to, and the guitar playing. Robby, you'd love the guitar players, right up your alley. Plays very similar to you. Great singing, great songwriting. So, so in 1990 I did that, but it kind of fizzled. After we didn't get a deal, nothing happened. Grunge was starting to enter, and that whole scene kind of withered away slowly. So I joined up with a couple of guys. One guy named Sebastian Marino, who's in Anvil, if everybody remembers the Canadian band Anvil.
Sure.
Yep. So he was in Anvil for a little while, and the singer was his name was Joe Comeau. He was in a band called Liege Lord, which put out some albums on Metal Blade. They kind of had a cult following in Europe. Most people probably don't know who they are. So we got a recording deal with, I think, Mausoleum Records or something like that, and recorded a bunch of demos. And we were about to put out a record when two things happened. Number one, the money for our record went to Joey Belladonna from Anthrax instead for his first record. So that left no money for us. And secondly, those two guys left me to go join Overkill. So Overkill lost their guitar players around 94, 95. And so those two guys went and joined Overkill. And there was a possibility, I guess, from what I remember, that I could have joined too if the drummer had left, because they were all from the same area, but the drummer stayed. And so that's what happened there. So, so's the tale of rock and roll. There's some you win, some you lose. So,
yep.
Absolutely. So Nancy Sale, the queen herself of Rams Network on Twitch, is here with us tonight. Nancy, thank you for coming on with us. She said Rob had big ass hair when he was young and it was blonde and fluffy. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah, and what if you? I think it was Robby put one of those pictures up yesterday on Facebook with me and my boots and the big hair, and yeah, it was funny. That was cool.
Right. All right.
I always look for pictures from people when we do these shows from back, older pictures. It's like, it's fun. They go,
yeah.
I had the mullet. I rocked the mullet, man. I couldn't. My hair out here wouldn't grow down straight, so it would flip up. So I had to keep it trimmed. But I made it look good. Anyway,
there you go.
Nancy says you wore spandex too a lot there, Rob.
Nancy is I used to know Nancy. We dated very briefly way back around the late mid 80s or whatever. And I had my big poofy blonde. Oh, there goes the Late Show again. The big bleach blonde hair. And I could, and actually I could probably fit into those now that I've, regained my original fighting weight. So, but yeah. I used to. Who didn't wear spandex and all that shit and teased our hair out and bleached it blonde and we all did.
I'm wearing spandex right now. Is that awkward?
Excellent.
Yes, it is. No, but see, he's got it confused. He's wearing Speedos. Those are not spandex.
Oh,
I thought they were.
Sorry.
Oh. No, but everybody pretty much did. Everybody went through that phase, right? Pretty much.
We all did.
Yes.
I still have my Bon Jovi fringe jacket that I'm hoping someday will come back into style, but I'm not holding my breath, so.
Oh, I had stock in Aquanet.
There you go.
I
used something called Stiff Stuff, which was less famous, but it was called Stiff Stuff. And it was like, that chick that just, stupidly put the fucking Gorilla Glue in her hair? Well, this was almost as thick as that shit. I mean, you sprayed it.
Wow.
It was called Stiff Stuff for a reason. Yep. So there you go.
Yes, we'll carry on from that one. Thank you.
I wonder how many people have clothes from the day, because I've got a box with clothes from the day that sits there and is going, someday it'll come back. No, I'm kidding. But it just, what are you going to do with it? Seriously, what are you going to do with it?
You can't. You feel bad throwing it out. I still have the boots in the picture you put up yesterday. I still have them. They're over here in a box. And I should have pulled them out and held them up to prove, but like, I can't throw them out. It's like I don't know. Just can't bring myself to do it. I don't know.
Right.
Exactly. Still wore those on stage, Robby.
I was thinking about it when we come out to Texas. That probably would go over pretty well.
Saddle up, partner.
The leopard skin ones, and the leg warmers and, capizios and teased up hair and a half shirt. Yeah.
If we were in Austin, you'd fit right in.
Oh, well then.
Well, let me know when you put them on. I'll come drum for you, and I'll bring my boots or something. I don't know.
All right, there we go.
There you go. All right, so you got a record deal in Japan.
Yep. Yeah.
Japan rocks, dude. I mean, they support rock and heavy metal fantastically. So tell me about that, my brother.
Pony Canyon, by any chance?
No, shoot, I don't remember the name of the. It could have been, but I don't remember off the top of my head. What happened was I had taken some time off after everybody ditched me to join Overkill. Thanks, guys. So at that time, I got married, bought a house. I had my first child, and just kind of did that for a couple of years. And I got a phone call out of the blue from a guy named John Hahn, who is a phenomenal guitar player from Pennsylvania, who just put out a new record, by the way, and you should go buy it because Robby's like right up your alley. He plays a lot like you. He's really, really good. And he was in Mike Varney's Spotlight, if I remember correctly, way back in the late 80s. And I had opened for him in a cover band way back in the late 80s as well. And he remembered me. So if you fast forward to the mid 80s or the mid 90s, he got a deal in Japan through David Chastain. If you remember David T. Chastain. And they recorded a record, but they did it with a drum machine, and they did a great job with the drum machine. But David was like, well, I can get you a deal in Japan if you get a live drummer. So John, out of the blue, I came home from a camping trip. There's a message from him. And he's like, dude, I'm recording a record. It's coming out in Japan. You want to come down and do it? I need a live drummer. I called him up. Absolutely. So I drove down to Pennsylvania, and I recorded their record in 2 days. It was basically there for a weekend. And, just played to the tracks that were there, which, was interesting because as Robby and probably Drake, is the drums usually the first thing you do and everybody builds off that.
Right.
I had to do the reverse. I had to play to what was there, even ending a song and finishing. Like I had to know, it's like, okay, they're writing it out this long and here's the crash. And, it was just totally backwards, but
it's tricky. That's hard. It's really hard to do.
Yeah, very tricky, and but it was great. I mean, the record is phenomenal. And again, timing is everything. If it came out, in the late '80s, you probably would have heard of it, and you can still see clips of it on YouTube. There's some, I don't know. I got like 3 songs of it on my website.
Who and played the guitar playing.
Well, actually, Eric, the singer, played bass. He played the bass on it. He actually went back and redid some of the bass after I did the drums just to, jive with the kick drum, after I did it. But, it came out in Japan. It didn't sell enough in Japan to warrant a tour because, we're talking mid 90s, even though Japan still loved that stuff.
Yeah.
Wrong timing, bad timing, so, but I love the record. It came out great and, it's worth a listen. So.
Heck yeah. Speaking of worth a lesson, man, worth a listen. Let's check out, right. Let's check out one of your videos, brother. You sent over a promotional video. Is that correct?
I did. Yep.
Let's check it out here because I can bring this up here if I knew what I was doing. If somebody would teach me how this mouse thing works. All right, here we go, right here. Oh. Hang on here. Like I said, if I knew what I was doing, we'd be scared, right? You got to hit this little box that says share audio, man.
That might work.
There we go. Let's try this again, shall we?
I heard it, though.
Back this up a minute. All right. There we go. Can you hear it, Andy?
Yeah.
All right, I got it here.
Thank you very much. Let's go Mountain Drums.
Badass.
Cora says she's got a thing for drummers. Cora.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think drummers have a thing for Cora.
Well, there.
Awkward.
Cool.
Awkward silence.
So how did the Lou Gramm thing come about?
Okay, try and make that short, but it's kind of long. Well, I mean, the real short version is everybody in the band I know and have known for 30 years and have played with them all. But it's a little more involved with that. Basically, many years ago, I used to be in a Foreigner tribute band, and the original singer actually was a guy named Phil Naro who played with Billy Sheehan and Tallis. So everybody knows Billy. I don't know if everybody knows Tallis, but that was his big band before he joined David Lee Roth, and Phil was one of the singers. So I was playing with Phil, and then Phil left, and we actually, the next singer we got, well, actually, I got to take a step backward. The very first gig we did with Phil was opening for Lou at a charity event, and Lou's old band before Foreigner was called Black Sheep. So he reformed the old band. We did this big benefit for cancer. I actually played Lou's original drum set at that gig. He wanted everybody to play his original drums. And so his old band was the headliner, and my Foreigner tribute band was one of the bands that opened. So that went so well, we decided to keep going. And with Phil, we played through New York and we played up in Canada. And then Phil left, and we got Lou's nephew named Peter to sing. So Peter sounded very much like Lou. He did a really, really good job. And Peter was his Lou's brother, Ben, who, okay, so if you're keeping score here, Ben was Lou's drummer. So
okay.
And that's the guy I ended up replacing. So what happened was I was jamming with Peter, and he was our singer. Again, we played with Lou. Lou actually sang with us at another cancer benefit. And we did 3 songs, and it went so well, we added a 4th one that we never rehearsed. And it went over like gangbusters. And so, Lou sort of knew me from that a little bit at that point. Then Lou started his own solo band with his 2 brothers and a couple other guys. But his brother, who played drums, lived in New York, and they would need a drummer to practice. There was a time I was called to go record some old Foreigner songs because they needed to use Foreigner songs for promotional purposes, but they didn't have the licensing to use the original tracks. So we went into the studio, and I played on a bunch of Foreigner songs that were used for promotional purposes. So, I did a couple gigs with Lou. I did recording with Lou. I practiced with Lou when his brother Ben couldn't come in from New York City. And so fast forward to 2009, his brother Ben got ill 3 days before a show out in Big Bear, California. Oh. So I get the call to do that because, well, everybody knew that I knew the songs, and I had played with his, nephew and blah, blah, blah. So on 3 days' notice, I went out and did the show out in Big Bear, and that went, really well. And then, so that was it for a little while. And as time went on, the band members started getting changed out. And as that happened, his brother, Ben, who I replaced, ended up leaving the band through a discrepancy with Lou. And so at that point, I got the call to get the gig permanently. And at that point, everybody that was in the band at that time were guys I had played with for 30 years. So I knew everybody. I had done enough stuff with Lou. I joined at the same time. Well, Scott Gilman, our sax guy, who was with Lou and Foreigner, joined shortly after I joined, within a couple weeks. And then on keyboards, Jeff Jacobs joined shortly after, who played in Foreigner for like 16, 20 years. As well. So when we went out and we played gigs, I mean, it's kind of weird to say, but since Mick doesn't really play with Foreigner often, you could say that there was more Foreigner in our lineup because Lou was always there as far as original Foreigner anyways, if you count Lou, Scott, and you count our keyboard player, then the Foreigner that sometimes, that's out there sometimes without Mick. So that's kind of the short version and how I got in and went ever since. So.
Wow. How surreal.
Did you play the Freedom Fest in Colorado with them? 2000, oh God, I don't remember what year, 16, because we played with Lou.
Yeah, you guys did. That was right before I joined. I joined. But no, I didn't do that one. That was right before me. So.
Okay. Now in Big Bear, what was the venue in Big Bear? Was that place that's got the big like pit right in front of it? I can't remember the name of it. It's like a theater sort of, but it's got like the stage is really high off the ground.
Well, this was outdoors, right on the lake. This was like on 4th of July, right out on the lake, and it started out with the sunset and ended up at night. So it was really cool. And when we got done, fireworks went off, and it was really weird because I probably did 3 more 4th of July shows with him. It was really weird how we played so many 4th of July shows. But yeah, it was outdoors. So
okay, so that's interesting. That sounds pretty cool. Yeah, that Freedom Fest we did with them was 4th of July too, I think.
No shit.
Pretty sure.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was either 4th of July or right around 4th of July.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I heard that you guys had played with Lou and all that kind of stuff, but that was right before me. They did some cool stuff right before I joined. They actually went down to Puerto Rico and played a couple gigs with Journey, right before I joined. And they did a ABC Disney on Ice with Paul Rogers and Bad Company. It was just Paul Rogers right before I joined. It's like not that I didn't do I did a bunch of cool shit too, but it was just like those, because we actually opened for Bad Company actually. Come to think of it, when I was in the band, but a couple of cool things. Like I would have loved to play with Journey. That would have been awesome, but it was great before me. So
absolutely. Mia says that it was called the Cave in Big Bear.
That's it. That's right. Yep.
The Cave in Big Bear. All right, Brenda Preston wants to know if you could be on stage with anyone that you would want to drum for, living or dead. Who would that be?
Wow, living or dead. Well,
living or dead.
Well, I would have to say that, I would love to have been in that lineup of the Ozzy's band, the Blizzard of Oz, when it was Rudy, Tommy Aldridge, and Randy Rhoads. So if Tommy could have stepped aside for a minute and just let me sit in for a little bit, that would have been cool. I would say that. So, and then if not that, then Toto.
There you go.
Toto. Right on.
Oh, yeah. Huge Toto fan. So Jeff Porcaro, Simon Phillips, huge fan. So
absolutely. All right, so we got more questions coming up and going on. All right. The great thing about being old is that the bands that we've seen that have the original members, including JRGW, Sabbath, and etc., how iconic was it for you to share the stage with Lou Gramm and playing Foreigner hits? I mean, they're anthems, dude. They're rock anthems.
Yeah, I mean, you can't beat it. I mean, I grew up listening to the guy who didn't, and on top of that, he was from Rochester, so he was the hometown hero. And whenever they would play Rochester, everybody would freak out. So I mean, I know Robby played with Rob Halford, right? So it's the same thing. It's like, holy shit, I'm playing with this guy, that I grew up listening to. So, those are some of the best written songs, Foreigner. I mean, come on. I mean, you hear it every 5 seconds on the radio, and to play in his band and having him standing right in front of me, whacking on his cowbell and playing away and singing his ass off, you can't beat it. I just had to pinch myself every night, and it was awesome. It was great. What can you say?
Absolutely. Awesome. Bill Powers says best concert he ever seen in his life was Toto in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Love Toto. I've seen him a bunch of times. Oh yeah.
Absolutely. Robby's got some Toto covers that they did, and those are pretty fantastic as well. You guys got to check that out at Robby Lochner on YouTube.
Yeah, you did one of Rose. Did you do Rosanna or something?
No, we did Hold the Line.
Hold the Line. That's what it was. Okay, I saw that. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
I got another one sitting in the can right now too, but I'm kind of waiting to see.
Awesome.
I always love how Robby's face gets nervous when I'm like, Robby did, and he's like,
what did I do now?
What?
Guilty.
Yeah, they're saying Lou Gramm, one of the best rock singers ever to take the stage. Absolutely. Yeah. All right, so
super cool.
If you were not a drummer, what would you be? If you were not a rock and roll drummer, what would you be?
I don't know. Well, when I was a kid, I wanted to play hockey, and I couldn't play hockey. I did a little bit, but I was a big hockey fan. But not to go off tangent wackily, but when I was 4 years old, I got hit in the head by a kid down the street. We were goofing around with golf clubs, and he swung it and didn't see me and and hit me in the forehead. And I actually have a metal plate right in my forehead, and that ended my chances of playing hockey because the doctor said no hockey for you. So, yeah. So right here, I have a metal plate. Refrigerator magnets do not stick. I don't set off airport security and all that shit. So no, none of that works.
You just can't get hit there. What about?
I can't get hit there. Well, I've hit myself in the head there tons of times with a drumstick.
When you use the microwave, piss your pants and forget your name for a half hour.
I know, like Randy. I know, right?
I'm sorry, I had you.
I wanted to play hockey, but and I wanted to play tennis too. I played tennis in high school, and I played tennis on my college team too. So I wasn't too bad at either. But I don't know. Maybe it would have been one of those. I don't know. Good question.
Nice. That is a good question. All right, so let's talk about scrap metal for a minute, because I've got to tell you, I know they're with ARM, and I have thought immensely about bringing that band to town. And the lineup constantly is changing. You got Eric Martin, you got all these guys coming in and out. Eric Martin, obviously Mr. Big, phenomenal singer in his own right, phenomenal songwriter. What was it like, dude? I mean, honestly, just the rolling in of all of these enormous rock names coming through and playing with them and keeping up with all the different catalogs that you had to keep up with.
Well, I mean, that was a dream come true too. I mean, that was awesome. I get the wackiest thing was I got a message from Gunnar Nelson. Out of all the social media things you could get a message from somebody on, it was on LinkedIn. So,
really?
Not Facebook, not Instagram, none of that was on LinkedIn. I was like, okay. And, they had a last minute gig. And within like 3 weeks or something like that, it was supposed to be like a Vince Neil gig, and he ended up going in the hospital or something happened, and it was Vince Neil and Slaughter, so Vince couldn't do it, so they threw scrap metal in. And they have the regular drummers are guys like Kelly Kagi and Bobby Rock. They've had and like you said, there's a million people that do this, and so I got the call, I was available to do it. And the cool thing is, out of all the stars that I played with, was it Eric Martin, Barry Goodrow, Phil Lewis, Ted Poley, and Janet Gardner from Vixen. Most of that stuff you already know. They play all the hits, so you've heard all the songs a million times, so that's good. Right. And anytime I prepare for that kind of stuff, whether I record or whether I learn music from a gig, I just listen to the stuff nonstop. I'll write out notes. I have my own form of tablature. I know how to read music because I did it forever.
Nice.
But what I'll do is I'll put in the earbuds. I'll go to bed and have a playlist just keep going subconsciously in my brain. I just drive myself fucking nuts listening to it a million times. So we did the gig. We got there and there was no rehearsal. It's just like, well, we're going to get together in so-and-so's hotel room with everybody. And I was sitting there with my drumsticks banging on the bed, and everybody had guitars acoustically, and that was it. Okay, let's do it. So, but it was awesome.
Seriously.
What Boston songs did you guys do?
Boston, we did More Than a Feeling. We did Long. It was a 4-play Long Time. What else? Peace of Mind, maybe, or something. I don't remember. We did like 3 or 4 songs from everybody. I mean, playing with Barry Goodrow was amazing. I mean, holy shit, I mean, it's not often you get to play with a guy that in Boston,
Right.
So yeah, that was amazing. That was really cool. And I mean, everybody's cool. Everybody's super cool. Ted Poley that guy's a trip, man. Me and him ate lunch at a Cracker Barrel for like 3 hours on one of the afternoons, and he's just a cool dude. And they have that gift shop in Cracker Barrel when you eat in a Cracker Barrel, and he bought like this hamster ball and for his cats, and he gets home after the show and he puts the batteries in, and he's driving his cats nuts with this hamster ball, chasing him around his living room or something. It was hilarious. That guy's he's hilarious. So it was a great time. I loved it. And I opened for Danger many, many years ago in Syracuse, New York, with that band, Baby Grand, that you mentioned. We actually opened for Ted in 91 or something. So it was kind of cool how that worked out too.
Really?
So what about Mark Slaughter? Was he in there on any of the shows you did?
Yeah, Mark was there. Slaughter opened the show. So his band opened the show, and then Mark came on and sang backgrounds to some of the Boston stuff, and they everybody shared lead on Rock and Roll, like the big jam at the end.
Cool. Yeah,
it was a late show again. So
yeah, he seems super cool. I've met him just one time, but he was super nice, and I liked him a lot.
Real
Just
nice,
very personable, you know.
Yeah, he was really nice. He was really nice. And it was kind of funny, most guys probably wouldn't say what I'm about to say, but I'll admit it because I have a sense of humor. So when we were doing foreplay long time, the mix in our in-ears was absolutely horrendous, right? Horrendous. So Barry's doing the solo in long time, and all of a sudden the guitar's gone, totally gone, and Mark's up there singing along with everybody. And all of a sudden, Howie Simon, the guitar player who was playing too, he comes up to me. We're looking at each other like, where are we? It's like because the guitar was gone. I'm like, I have no idea, dude. And so I missed. There's a middle breakdown, real quick. I missed it. It was like a dun dun dun, and whatever. And Mark's looking at me. He's like, he's guiding me back, and I'm like, oh, okay. Mark's like, come on, and who cares? I mean, everybody screws up in those things, but it was cool because Mark was just like, he was right in front of me. He's like, I'm like, oh, okay, I can't hear a damn thing, but sounds good to me.
Now I know where I'm at least.
Now I got it. Thank you. I've only heard the song a million times since 1976, but now I got it. So
right. Now, when you were behind the plexiglass, you were in the ears then on the plexiglass stuff?
Yeah. Everybody was in ears because with Lou, we played the tracks like everybody else did. So I had a click track constantly going, and not that we relied on it because everybody sang live, but there was some background vocals also previously recorded. In case you have a throw and go. And you're, we did a gig with Pat Benatar in Vegas. It's like get up there and just start playing, and so sometimes you need some help. Because nobody's going to get a vocal mix, in 10 seconds from the live guys. So, there's a couple keyboard parts, but not many that Jeff would program in from the original Foreigner stuff. And so, I played to a click, so I had to have the in-ears. And not that I liked it, because a click track to Foreigner doesn't really work for me, because none of it was recorded with a click track, so it kind of sterilized it. And then, which is kind of funny, because, I'd be sitting there playing to the click track, and, a bunch of songs were Lou in the middle of a guitar solo, grabbed his cowbell, and he'd sit there clanking along under the cowbell, and it would come through his microphone back into my in-ears. So I got the clink of the click track. I got the clink of his cowbell. And I was like, oh my God, my freaking brain is fried. But it was fun. It was a good time. I actually unplugged myself twice. By moving my rear end on my drum stool, right? All of a sudden I would move, and somehow I managed to unplug my ears twice, and I got nothing. So I don't even have a click track. I don't have anybody, right? And and then so you got the ear, like it's blocking the stage sound, because now I got in-ears that are now earmuffs, So I got nothing, and I'm sitting there going, get your ass over here and figure out what's going on. But it happened twice. But the good news is, and just a little bit of a props to myself, is I never got off the click. I was spot on when they brought me back. So
really,
yep. Even Jeff was like, "Holy shit, you were spot on when you came back," and I was like, "There you go, buddy." No, I know I'm sounding like I'm fooling myself, but that was that's what practicing to a click does for you. I mean, you got to practice to that stuff. I'm sure maybe Robby does it too. Anybody can benefit from practicing to a click track, and once you ingrain that in your brain, it's a good thing. So
very important.
So explain to the folks out here what a click track is.
What a click track is. Okay, so what a click track is it's a metronome. It's also called a metronome. It keeps time, and you can set the tempo. All right, so it keeps perfect time to whatever speed you want. So almost everybody these days plays to a click track live. There's a few that don't, but almost everybody has recorded tracks, and their drummer has to play to a click track if there's recorded tracks. And so the drummer has the tempo in his ears, and you hear a click or a clank or a cowbell or whatever. And that's so the drummer stays on the track to keep in time with whatever pre-recorded music is going. When you record in the studio, you usually play to a click track, again, to keep perfect time so people can sync on with it. If you need to go back and overdub things or redo a part or whatever. Now, if you go back in time, a lot of the classic albums everybody loves that have feel weren't recorded to a click track, such as the Foreigner stuff that we all know and love. So it was a little weird for me to get used to playing stuff that wasn't recorded to a click with a click. It was just, it kind of sucked some of the feel out of it, but it's there to keep time. So that's what that is.
Nice. Well, now, Blair, we've answered your question, what a click track is. And now I know. Yeah, that's cool, man. That's cool. So you've had some pretty incredible journeys in your career. Where do we go from here, brother? What's coming up next for you?
Well, right now I'm in between gigs. So, I'm looking for something to get into once all this stuff, frees up and we're able to actually play again. I was doing I did the scrap metal gig, was like the second last gig I played. I have a project here in New York that I've been doing for fun to keep busy. But, as soon as any possibility of maybe more scrap metal gigs would have happened, and, who knows what would have happened with that. That's like a part-time thing for a bunch of guys. And I was talking to Gunnar Nelson about possibly doing more that would have been last year. That killed everything. So, hopefully maybe some of those will come along if everything opens up, who knows? So I'm kind of open at this point. I almost it's funny how things work out. When I went and hung out with my friend Tobias Ralph, who played drums with Steve Augeri, he gave me, he was telling me he wanted me to do some sub gigs for him, and started lining that up really quick. But Tobias ended up leaving the band, and Steve had his son who plays drums end up being his drummer. So, things kind of go here, things kind of go there. So, so in between, like a full-time permanent thing at this point. So hopefully something will pop up once all this COVID stuff ends.
So how did the rock and roll fantasy thing come about? And tell people what that is, because they might not know what it is.
Right. So Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp is something that a guy named David Fishoff started, which has been around for quite a long time, actually. And what he decided to do was to get a bunch of really big name stars that would kind of headline the fantasy camp. And then people would sign up and pay the fee and get to go join a band, a camper band with somebody like me or anybody. Guys like Brian Tishy and Rudy Sarzo and Tony Franklin and a bunch of people have been camp counselors. And we would get a band in shape to then go play with the headline guys, and they would play on stage with them. So you pay your money. You do a couple of days of rehearsal. Everybody gets their parts down. And then we do a couple different gigs at various clubs and venues in the town. I did Chicago. Like I did Buddy Guy's. We played at Buddy Guy's famous restaurant, for instance, and played with him. They've done Vegas. They've done LA. They've done Nashville. And they've got a new movie out. Actually, I haven't seen it yet, but there's a whole movie about Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp. So you pay your fee, you get to join a camper band with guys like me. We show you how to play. We get it down. Then we go jam with Nancy Wilson or Buddy Guy or whoever. And it's really cool. A lot of fun.
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, I know Paul Stanley's been there. I've seen Michael Anthony. I think Sammy Hagar, all kinds of people.
Yeah, I mean, just about everybody. Roger Daltrey's done a ton of them.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody. So it's really cool.
It's for somebody who's a fan of music and plays a little bit to even, somebody who's played, it's a fair amount, right? It's a thrill to be able to play with iconic heroes. And when else are you going to be able to do it? Yeah, you have to pay for it, but it's an opportunity that how else would you get that?
It looks like they've got Joe Perry, Judas Priest, Gene Simmons, Paul Stanley, Nancy Wilson, Roger Daltrey, Alice Cooper. I mean, they've got a stout list.
Yeah.
And that just looks really cool, brother. And that's cool that you're involved with that.
Yeah, it was a blast. I had a ton of fun to do it. Yeah, it was a ton of fun to do it. And if they want me to do another one, I'd be more than happy to come along. I've kept in touch with one or two of the guys ever since. And once in a while, there's a bunch of videos and photos taken professionally, and I post a couple of those things every once in a while on my social media, and it was really cool. I had a girl in my band that was like 14 years old that sang Heart, like perfect. I mean, it was amazing. Got guys that are 50, 60 years old that, are almost as good as anybody I've ever played with that probably could have professionally done it. They just chose to have a career in whatever, they decided to be a lawyer, but maybe could have been a musician if it, had gone that way. So,
how did that come about, though? Who called you on that?
Well, our guitar player in Lou's band, Mike Sterto, had already done one, and he knew Valerie Ince, who you knew. I think you were telling me about her. And so they needed some people to do the Chicago one. And she said to Mike, well, I met her at NAMM earlier in that year anyways. And she said, hey, wouldn't Rob want to do it? And hey, give him a call. So they gave me a buzz, and sure, and it was right after a gig we did in Lou's band, so we flew from, we were playing this bunker in Virginia called, I forget what it's called, this big, huge bunker that all the presidents used to go to. It's now like a luxury golf resort. And we went from that private event and hopped on the plane the next day and went to Chicago and did the fantasy camp thing. And it's pretty cool.
Nice. That's cool.
So
that's badass. Rob, I can't thank you enough for joining us tonight, my brother.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. It was a blast. It was fun to meet you guys, and I'm appreciative to be on here. So awesome. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, man. You're a class act, and we appreciate you. Don Wardell says Rochester is full of great musicians. Just need to play out. LOL.
Yeah, we do.
Agreed. We need to get back to playing and putting people on the stage. And Rob, hopefully I see you on a stage here real soon.
Yeah, man. Hopefully I'll be back at it very soon with everybody, and we'll bump into each other along the way. So
absolutely.
All right. Rob, thanks so much. We appreciate you. We'll see you soon.
All right, Robby and Drake, thank you very much.
Cool.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you.
All right. Cool. Rob Mount here on the Hangout Live. Man, what a class act, dude.
And that went fast too. It was like zip. Man.
I know. I looked over at the clock. I'm like, whoa. So enjoyable show. Everybody's saying the same thing. Great show. Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Rob Mount. Great show. Rock on, Rob Mount. Thanks for hanging out with us. What a nice guy. Just a really down to earth, humble human being, and has some amazing stories and history. And hopefully we can have him back on here in the future. Maybe we get him on the radio show and talk to him on Jack FM here. So Twitch next week. I saw Nancy Sales in the audience tonight. We are going to make that happen. I've been working like a dog, so trying to get things put together and get this rocking and rolling. And hopefully we can be on there next week and come to you live from Twitch. We'll still be on Facebook. Yep. You can still check us out here for a couple of weeks. Month, maybe 3 weeks.
So next week, who do we have next week?
That's your
Mark Bowles. Is he next week, or is that Greg Smith?
Mark Bowles is next week, I believe.
He sang with Yngwie Malmsteen. Played with Doc, and he played bass and sang backing vocals with Doc. And I'm sure there's a lot more there. Greg Smith has played with a bunch of people.
Look over there. Nancy's still here. Hi, Nancy.
Nancy's here. Okay, Nancy.
Let's throw our banner up there just for Nancy here. There we go. Look at that. Backbeat Music and the Rams Twitch Network. So Rock Against MS, obviously a great cause. Support it. Get behind it. Too many people out there suffer needlessly, and everything we can do to help that will definitely enrich a life. So check us out on the Rams Network. Until next week, we love you. It's the Hangout Live. It's Robby. It's Drake. And that's a wrap.